All right, let's move on and look at just some of the basic business intelligence systems that we can use to help with all this decision making and analysis. So business intelligence, or BI, is sort of a category of systems that we talk about that give us information that we can use to improve our decision making. So that's what we've been talking about this week. There's 5 categories of business intelligence systems: group decision support, reporting systems, data mining systems, knowledge management systems, and expert systems. All right, and they're going to allow us to do all kinds of great things. You can see here over in the infographic on the right. So first up, group decision support systems. What are they all about? Well, that's software or systems that allow people to collaborate. All right, so we have a decision to make. Maybe we don't need to make it alone. Maybe we can collaborate and get more value out of it. That gives us a chance to bring in diverse knowledge and opinions, right? We may use a facilitator even to help guide the process, and that's sometimes common, right? It encourages participation from everyone, and it reduces anyone sort of taking over and dominating. That might be as simple as something like Google Docs that you could use for a class project where you're working in a team. You can all share and collaborate. Might be something a little more involved, like a video session like Collaborate, where you might have an instructor there with you, sort of moderating and encouraging people to contribute. That might be another version we can look at. Could be something like Microsoft Teams or Slack, which is a similar piece of software that allows people to share documents and collaborate and work together as teams and send information back and forth. All those could help groups by providing support for the decision making they have to do. Often as part of that, you've got the ability to diagram and share information that way. So maybe our group decision support system lets us create data flow diagrams or process flow diagrams so that we can all share and contribute and talk about those. So lots of great opportunities there for us to provide help to groups to make better decisions. The second category that I talked about were reporting systems, right? There's lots of things that fall into there too. There's systems for creating reports that integrate data from all over the place. We use some at the college as well, right? We've used Crystal reports in the past and still do to some extent. That's one product. We're now moving more to Power BI, which is another Microsoft product. It's kind of like Excel on steroids, essentially. Lets us bring in data from all over and then report on that, maybe sorting, grouping, summing, turning things into visual reports and that sort of thing, creating dashboards. That's all great for helping make decision making a little easier for people because everyone's getting the information they need when they need it. The third category I mentioned was data mining systems. Okay, that's software that uses a lot of statistical techniques. So if you've taken Biz 230 and Biz 231, you might be more into this. That's where we get in, maybe do some regression analysis or decision trees or set up hypotheses and test the data, or just, basic statistical techniques to get us started. That's what we're doing with data mining, right? So we've got lots of data. We have to mine our way through to find those little nuggets of gold, right? Just like my little picture here at the bottom shows, there's gold in here somewhere, right? There's a nugget of gold. Can we mine our way through the data to help find it? All right. Now that might be looking for patterns, relationships, making predictions, all that kind of thing. You can imagine how good that would be for marketing, for example. Think about a group that raises money, right? If we get into that industry, being able to predict who your big donors are going to be, that could be another interesting thing, couldn't it? What about elections? We've had some elections happen where it's been very interesting to be able to predict what's going to happen. How well have they been able to do it? Well, part of that is mining data, all the data that's available to them, and seeing if they can come up with a decent projection. All right, so that's data mining. Our next category, right, that we have here is knowledge management systems. Okay, that's seeking to capitalize on our intellectual capital in our organizations, collecting and sharing human knowledge, in other words. Okay. Think about the college. This may be very applicable here. We have a situation now where many instructors are getting further along in their careers, and at some point will probably think about retiring, and we'll be bringing on a lot of new instructors. Happens all the time. We have generations move through every organization. Well, the thing is, all of the seasoned instructors have learned a lot on the way over their careers. Wouldn't it be nice if we could leave some of that knowledge behind so that we didn't have to reinvent the wheel every time with new people? We do have some systems like that in place at the college. We have some software that tries to collect some of the work we do, right? Some of the work that we've done at the college in a way that other people can access it and learn from it too. All right, so that would be a knowledge management system. Other organizations might use it to improve customer service, right? We capture from the people who've been out there in the trenches, we capture all the information we need in order to do a better job, right? So we capture that knowledge. It can be used to foster innovation, right? Could just be used to reduce costs. So managing the knowledge or the intellectual capital of an organization is kind of a big deal. It can be tricky to do, but if we do it well, there's some good opportunities there for us. The final category of the 5 that we talked about are expert systems. That's software that tries to emulate the knowledge of a human expert. Think about the medical field. You know, to become a good doctor or a good practitioner, maybe in a related field, sometimes takes, you know, not just a lot of education, but some experience as well. Can we encapsulate that knowledge somehow into a piece of software based, you know, primarily off if-then rules? So if the patient's coughing, then ask them if they have a fever. If they're coughing and they have a fever, then ask them if they've, you know, been around anyone who has COVID, right? And we could talk about things like that. Eventually, these systems could help diagnose what's wrong with a person. All right, not just with simple things like that, but much more complex things like cancer. If you've been to the emergency room in a hospital, you see when they bring you in, they ask you all kinds of questions. Those are going into an expert system to kind of rank you and decide how urgent your situation is and what kind of care you may need. All right. Well, it's not just for the medical field. We can use it in many other places as well. All right. So we're using it in business as well. Maybe we might use it at the college as well. So if many students this term were not able to get into Biz 241, and if the next term is often a term where people like to take it, and if we have many people who've taken the prereq already, then we may add an extra section next term. So we could think about things like that to sort of encapsulate that automatically rather than hiring people, expensive people, to sit and think through and make every decision. And so it's just kind of trying to streamline or improve that process. That's an interesting field as well, right? Because you think about that, we're almost trying to mimic human knowledge and intelligence. All right, so those are 5 basic categories of BI systems. Next up, I'd like to take a closer look at data warehouses, data marts, and data mining. I'll mention that again for you and some of the techniques we may use there to kind of round out our discussion this week.